gentlemen, welcome to the main event. Let's get ready to rumble!
And that's right, everybody. Welcome back once again to another edition of the Best Seat in the House podcast. As you can see, our intrepid reporter, the great Daniel Bobo Carlin, is live at Citi Field for the Subway Series game between the Mets and the Yankees tonight. I'm Rob Cramer. This is my co-host, Daniel Bobo Carlin. And Dan, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm pumped for the game after last night. Even though I have to say I was nervous as heck last night late in that game. Miracle my TV survived. There was medics on standby late in that game, I can tell you that. As already indicated, I was still pissed off at the umpire. And, bro, you know who else is pissed off at that umpire for rejecting Edwin Diaz? My mom!
Yeah, I know the feeling, man. You know, me and you were texting during the late stages of the game last night, and it did get a little bit dicey, which you called, by the way. I was cracking up at that, and you know, obviously, as a Mets fan, we all know, you know, that you can never really rest that easy. But yeah, the Mets ended up, you know, they opened up a 9-3 lead yesterday. They ended up with a 9-7 victory that we'll get into in a sec. But Dan, you know, before we recap last night, I wanted to ask you, what's the vibe like at Citi Field tonight? Is everybody pumped up? Is it mostly Met fans?
It's about half. It seems like it's mostly Met fans. It's probably almost even, but I think the Met fans are going to outnumber the Yankee fans from what I'm seeing so far as I'm entering the stadium and on the train and everything on the way here. And I expect this crowd to be mostly Met fans tonight.
Yeah. Garrett Cole forward 6 runs, 4 outs. Let's go out and beat them 9-7. They hammered out 4 runs, and most important about that game, the Mets are actually 14-4 in their last 18 games, and you know this is a sustained streak of success for this Mets team. You know, the interesting thing for me is that they've gone from having the worst record in Major League Baseball in May to the best record in Major League Baseball in June. So it's been a wacky season for the Mets so far, but it's nice to see this sustained success, right?
Yeah, I just got to give credit to the team. I got to give credit to J.D. Martinez for rallying this team to finally crawling their way back into contention. And so far, it's working, and I'm pumped, and I feel like new life has been brought into to Mets fan me this year.
Yeah, I agree. You know, hey, you know, I've been very critical of the Mets, and I believe rightfully so. You know, we're diehard Met fans, so when things start to go right, we're gonna buy back into it. You know, that's just the type of fans that we are. But let's be honest, the team is still 2 games under 500. They still have a long way to go. And but you know what though, the way I'm looking at it with this season though is let's just enjoy the moment. They're 14-4 in their last 18 games. They're playing pretty good baseball. And while I don't think it's going to carry them for the rest of the season, I'm just going to enjoy it while it lasts, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm just going to enjoy it while it lasts. And I'm hopeful that at the trading deadline they get this team some pitching help, because right now it just gets me nervous with his bullpen being worn out as with these fly pitchers.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Even David Peterson last night, I initially I was a little bit upset with Carlos Mendoza for pulling David Peterson with such a big lead. But to be honest, David Peterson had about 100 pitches in the fourth inning. So I can't knock Carlos Mendoza. It's not the old days where you could run Nolan Ryan out there for 200 pitches. This is a day and age where guys don't throw that many pitches and their bodies aren't conditioned to do it. So 100 pitches in 4+ innings, that's a lot of pitches. So, you're right about that.
Yeah, exactly. They need to get someone at the trading deadline, a pitcher, hopefully that can pitch deeper into games.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Dan. I mean, the pitching matchup tonight is, Sean Manaea, who's been okay, even though you hit the nail on the head with him being one of those 5-and-fly pitchers, and he's going up against Luis Gil, who I forgot to add that little dash in the middle there. There we go. So Luis Gil is 9-2 with a 2.77 ERA, but he's coming off his worst outing as a professional. So, what do you think, Dan? You think that the Mets are in good position tonight against a guy like Gil? Maybe his confidence is low after a rough performance, or do you think it's the opposite, where now he's ready to have a big bounce back game tonight against the Mets?
I think personally that this game is probably going to end up being like a 5-2 Mets win, and a very nervous 5-2 Mets win. Because I'm telling you, there's going to be Mets on standby late in the game. Actually, there's already Mets standby at Citi Field.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about that, Dan. You got that right, 100%. So pretty decent matchup there tonight against the rookie Gil and the veteran lefty in Manaea for the Mets. But a couple of other things that you're going to have to look at when you look at everything going on for this game and this series. I mean, last night, let's take a look at Mark Vientos, man. Mark Vientos crushed 2 home runs last night against the Yankees ace, Garrett Cole. He hit a laser early in the game to put them up. But then the thing that really stood out to me, Dan, and I don't know if you noticed this, because I didn't see a lot of Mets fans pointing it out. I was kind of surprised that even Gary Cohen didn't point it out, because it seems like something that Gary Cohen would notice. But the second home run that Mark Vientos hit was an opposite field home run in the power gap. The power alley over there at Citi Field, which is about 390 feet. That's a long way for a right-handed hitter to hit a home run at Citi Field. You don't see right-handers do that. We as Met fans used to see Mike Piazza have that kind of right-handed power at Shea Stadium back in the day, where he would routinely hit those opposite field home runs as a righty at Shea. But, this day and age, most right-handed power hitters are pull guys. And even Vientos is mostly a pull guy too. But he crushed that ball, and the opposite field power, Dan, that was so impressive to me.
Yeah, that is impressive. I'm glad to see finally Vientos showing the player we expect him to be. I just had a feeling, I said it back to last year, they need to give this guy a shot. And they're finally giving him a shot, and he's running with it.
Yeah, you're right. And, the other good thing, too, is that Brett Beatty is back down in AAA, and he's been hitting the shit out of the ball, too. So, hopefully Beatty comes back up at some point and is able to contribute. But, it looks like he's not going to be taking any playing time away from Mark Vientos no matter what he does. And Vientos has earned that time, just like you said. Just real quick note on Beatty, as he's been crushing home runs left and right. He crushed 2 today in AAA again. So this is a guy that is looking like he wants to fight his way back to the majors. And, hey, I'm all about it, because the Mets, can't have enough good young talent on this team, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I'm all for it. At the same time, because there's such a log jam at third base, my gut feeling is it could be at the trading deadline. Beatty could be trade bait potentially for that pitching help we're talking about.
Yeah, he could be in the right deal, though. You know, I don't want to give up a guy like Beatty for, a rental or anything like that. I want in the right deal. I would definitely think about moving him. But, that's what it's going to come down to, for the Mets. And the other big thing, too, is staying relevant enough that they don't start trading guys like Luis Severino and Pete Alonso, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I have a feeling this team just I feel like they've woken up all of a sudden. I think they've gotten going. I think they've gotten off to a little slow start, but they're finally getting going. And a lot of these players, once they get going, it's going to be they're going to be in a thick of a playoff race, and they're going to be making that the pitching help. It's going to be an interesting trade deadline and a lot of hitting refresh on the SNY Twitter feed.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's gonna be real interesting to see what David Stearns does leading up to that. Because we've never seen a David Stearns trade deadline. So the Brewers in the last couple of years when they were contenders under David Stearns have made a few big moves. So it'll be interesting to see what David Stearns is willing to part with to try to make this season matter, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So I feel this is really going to where David Stearns is going to show his worth. He's going to show his worth when the Mets are in contention, and this is right now his time to show his worth. And I expect something big going to be happening. And like I said, also about this team, I had a feeling JD Martinez was going to be the player we expected him to be once he gets going, once he got going. Because unfortunately, I feel he went into the season cold from signing so late.
No, you're right. You're right, and we've seen it time and time again with a lot of these guys that sign late.
Which is a word of advice to any free agents next offseason: don't sign late. You're only costing the team if you wait too long to sign.
Yeah, it's true, and he finally looks like the player that the Mets expected when they signed him, and to be honest, to be fair to him too, it really didn't take that long. He kind of had an up and down first couple of weeks, but after that, he really got his act together. Got to give JD Martinez a lot of credit for coming in. Let's not forget, this guy's a 36-year-old guy. He's got a World Series ring, so he doesn't have much to play for except for the love of the game, because he's already made a hell of a lot of money and he's got a World Series ring. But at 36, 37 years old, he has come to the Mets as a vet and is showing, any of these young kids on the team that they have or any of these other guys exactly what a pro should do at the big league level, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm hoping that JD Martinez and the Mets make it a situation where it's worth signing JD Martinez to a Bobby Bonilla type deal. This guy's getting paid long after he's off on his team. He'll be retired. Yeah. He'll be retired, and he's still going to be getting paid. So it better be worth it in the end.
No doubt about it.
I don't want to jump the gun or anything, but sometimes like these things happen when we're not like picked as statistically the favorite in Vegas. But if the Mets hold on something, dare I say it, win the whole damn thing, it'll be well worth it.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, man! You got the Mets are at this point. The point that we're at right now, we're willing to pay any price for the Mets to win it, no matter what it is. But and actually to help talk about that too, Dan, I did want to get your reaction to the last couple of weeks. Me and you have spoken at length about how we didn't feel that Christian Scott got a proper shake from the Mets, or whatever way you want to say it. We thought he kind of got screwed getting sent back down to the minors. Well, supposedly he's going to be back with the Mets. He's going to be back with the team very shortly, and Christian Scott will be rejoining the rotation. They're saying that they could be running a 6-man rotation starting in a couple of weeks because after the Mets off day tomorrow, they don't have another off day for 17 consecutive days leading up to the All-Star break. So from what I've heard is they're going to shift to a 6-man rotation and insert Christian Scott into that. And even though I'm not a big fan of the 6-man rotation, I think they could probably afford to lose Tyler McGill in that stretch right now. But I'm happy they're bringing Christian Scott back up and doing the right thing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm happy they're bringing him back. And I feel it's like a situation where they kind of need – I don't mind if they're doing the 6-man rotation, maybe only for the 17-game stretch. Like times like this where there might be not a day off for 17 days. I'm fine for that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm definitely with you on that. And, so, obviously things are looking up right now for the Mets. Really can't, be any more upfront about that. But also, too, just to shine a light on the Yankees real quick, I did want to take a look at them, too. And Judge and Soto both staying hot is big for them, too, because, those guys are going to be the lifeline of the Yankees lineup and team all year. Judge is insane with his numbers. He's got 29 home runs and 75 RBIs, and we haven't even hit July yet. This guy's on pace for another 60 home run season. It's pretty insane what Aaron Judge is doing, and hitting over 300 at it. Same thing with Juan Soto, over 300, 19 home runs, having a fantastic season. Soto hit the bomb in this fourth inning last night to make it a 6-1 game. But Aaron Judge is the one that hit the grand slam deep into Citi Field last night to make a 9-3 game a little bit more scary at 9-7 pretty late. So, no matter what the Mets do in this game today, if they come out slugging like they did last night, you can never sleep on Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's going to be the key thing. I feel in this game is how good the pitching can be, how much the pitching can minimize the damage. And at the same time, Juan Soto lately this year, each time he gets to put up a big moment, it's pretty much more that price is going up on that check that Steve Cohen will be writing to Juan Soto.
No doubt about it. I mean, what do you think, Dan? I mean, look, if the Yankees have a really deep playoff run, it's going to be tough. But I still think that Soto is going to go to the highest bidder no matter what. If you had to take a guess right now, me and you said all year last year that Steve Cohen would not be outbid for Yamamoto and Ohtani, and he was outbid on both those guys. What do you think about this year? Do you still think that the Mets are going to be potential big players in the Soto front?
I believe they are. I expect Steve Cohen to Hulk out when he's writing that check.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. I'm with you. So let's just keep our fingers crossed they can get that done. But, the Mets, we're talking about them tonight. You at Citi Field, big game Subway Series tonight. The Mets are looking to win their 5th straight series. And the Yankees, if they lose tonight, it will be their 4th consecutive series loss. So, both teams are kind of heading in opposite directions right now, although the Yankees have definitely played, great enough for most of the season that they can afford a little bit of a lull here right now in June. But for the Mets, they've been playing great lately, but if they're going to win this game tonight, they're going to be doing it without their $100 million closer. as Edwin Diaz was ejected just a couple of days ago for having a sticky substance on his hand. Say what you want. I think a lot of this is just ridiculous from the Manfred. This is Manfred Ball 101. It's a complete joke. It's it's stupid, and it seems like it's only targeting the Mets. Only 8 players since they started doing this have been thrown out, and 4 of them have been Mets. It's insane, and it seems like it's unfairly targeting the Mets. I I do think that, look, if the guy did use some sticky substance, that's one thing. But I think a lot of these guys just go out there, and when you sweat a lot, especially when you're doing something physical in June, you're going to be sweating. It's going to mix, and it's going to be sticky. I don't know if these guys have ever played baseball before, but it gets sticky when you play that. When you mix those substances. So what do you think about this nonsense with all these guys getting ejected and mostly being Mets?
It's fucking bullshit, and I'm telling you, with sweat and rosin, and I'm really upset at that umpire. Whoever that umpire was, he's on the Shizer list.
Yeah, shout out to our boy Eastside Dave with the shout out with the Shizer list. You're right about that. But then, the thing that is, too, as much as I agree with you and our frustration is with the umpire, too, we can't forget the fact that it's Rob Manfred's directive that started all this garbage in the first place and really confused everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And another one, I'm really pissed off at Rob Manfred. I can actually, that game on Sunday, I nearly destroyed my TV. It's a miracle I was able to restrain myself because I was yelling. But Mr. Malunigan, my dog was barking like crazy. It was one of those moments.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you because that was ridiculous. And it's just a shame. The Mets didn't even bother appealing the suspension because it wouldn't have gone anywhere anyway. So they figured just get it done before the All-Star break. But, it's just a shame that this is what baseball has come to right now for our in-game product. It's a joke.
Yep, exactly. It's just utter bullshit from Robert Manfred and that stupid umpire. I hope that umpire next time he's umpiring the game at Citi Field, he gets booed the shit out of him.
I want to hear
because of this CS situation without 10 games, I feel these 10 games could have an effect on how the season turns out.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. Especially, that's the crazy thing about this new wild card. Obviously we have the situation where it's the 3 teams now. They added the extra wild card team. But the crazy thing to me, Dan, is that, now it really does put it in a situation where if you have a bad 10-game swing, in July or June or whatever, and you go 2-8 or 1-9 and miss the playoffs by 2 or 3 games, you could look back and pinpoint it to a 10-game stretch like that, because the rest of the season, that's what happens when you let 500 teams in. That's what the deal is, The Arizona Diamondbacks were 84-78 last year, went to the World Series. They were a 500 team, and it's not like the 73 Mets. I don't even want to hear people bring that up because the 73 Mets won their division. They were the second best division winner in the National League that year, played the Reds and beat the Reds in the playoffs and went to the World Series. The Arizona Diamondbacks were literally the 8th best team in the league. 8th! And made the playoffs. Is this football? When did we start letting in so many teams? You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, it's a joke. This whole thing about Manfred too is a joke, but how it is now, and if you get hot in the right time going into the playoffs, you've got a chance to win it.
Yeah, that's true, man, and that's all that matters. And we're going to find out exactly what our couple of teams here in New York do after this series, as the Mets stay home. They're hosting the Houston Astros this weekend. So that's always an interesting matchup when those two teams lock up. And then the Yankees go from a big, cross-town rivalry with a big interdivisional rivalry as they're going up to Toronto to take on the Blue Jays. Now, the Blue Jays have not played as great this year as a lot of people expect, but it's always going to be a heated affair when the Yankees and Blue Jays match up, right?
Yeah, exactly. Probably that series is going to be probably a winnable game for the Yankees because the Blue Jays are at their lowest of lows.
Yeah, they've been playing pretty bad. Yeah, it's true. And what do you think about the Mets and the Astros too? The Astros are the team that everybody wants to beat. They're one of the best teams that have been one of the top teams for the last couple of years, really for the better part of the last decade. But unfortunately for them, they're having a bad year. They won the World Series last year, and that might be the swan song in this little dynasty they've had as Dusty Baker retired and left, and now the team is kind of trying to rebuild. They haven't played as great this year. What do you think about this matchup this weekend?
I think it's a winnable series for the Mets.
Yeah, especially no Justin Verlander this weekend too.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's such a winnable series that I don't think you have to worry about removing the trash cans from the locker room.
Yeah, they could do as much banging as they want on those trash cans. I don't think it's going to help them.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, and we're gonna try and keep it a little short and sweet tonight because Dan's on location. So we're gonna keep it rolling here right now. But just a couple of more little things before we get out of here. Maybe we'll do a bonus episode over the weekend or something like that. We'll see. But Dan's on location, so we don't want to go too crazy tonight. But Dan, a couple of more things before we get out of here. I did want to get your opinion on a couple of things. Me and you covered this over the weekend on our Patreon show, where the Rangers ended up losing one of their best playoff performers, Barclay Goodrow, on waivers to the San Jose Sharks. A calculated move by Rangers general manager Chris Drury, who pretty much put him on waivers knowing that somebody was going to claim him. This is a really good player, and a team like the San Jose Sharks, who have a lot of cap room and a lot of young players on the team, could use a veteran like Barclay Goodrow to learn from. Now, that's a pretty cutthroat move by Drury, sending Barclay Goodrow to one of the worst teams in hockey to save that money. But if you look at the screen right there, in a cap world for the New York Rangers and in the NHL, where the salary cap did go up a little bit this year, but let's be honest, the salary cap is still under where it should be. It should probably be somewhere around 95 to 100 million, but we're still only at about 88 right now. So it's still a pretty low cap, and any money that you can save is big, especially 3.6 million for a guy who was slotted to play only on your fourth line for about 10 minutes a night,
Yeah, it's right. I think it was a move that had to be made. They needed to make some room for a couple of big moves that I think are coming in the coming days. Probably Jake Gunsel. I think he's gonna be Jake Gunsel will be a Ranger this offseason.
Well, Dan, I really have been hoping that's the guy that I want. Me and you have talked about this quite a bit, but I've been hearing from a couple of reporters right now. I know Larry Brooks from the Post had just reported this, that the Rangers' top priority right now seems to be right wing and former New York Ranger Patrick Kane. Now, Kane is going to get a decent contract. I don't know if it's going to be, $7 million or $6 million, but it'll probably be somewhere around 4 or 5. And if the Rangers are getting Patrick Kane, I don't know if I see I don't know if I see an opportunity for Gunsel to come in, because Kane probably is going to slot right in on that top line, and then you're going to have your second line right wing is Alexis Lafreniere, and he earned that spot this year, so you can't take that from him. And then your third right wing spot is going to be Capo Caco. So, I mean, right now, if you really think about it, Dan, if the Rangers, if these rumors are true and they get Patrick Kane, unfortunately, I think that takes them out of the Gunsel sweepstakes.
Yeah, I think so. That kind of does too. Even though Patrick Kane's a great player, I just feel like Gunsel has a little bit more quickness to it.
Yeah, well, I totally agree with you. And not to mention, Gunsel is like 6 or 7 years younger, and it could be more long term. I feel like if the Rangers sign Patrick Kane, it might be for longer than 1 year, but it'll be a year-to-year thing where after every year you're not sure if he's going to retire. So if the Rangers, let's say they get Patrick Kane and win the Stanley Cup this year, then or next year, a year from now, then Patrick Kane is probably going to retire after that. So, what are the Rangers going to be? The Rangers are going to be left here holding the bag. And, no doubt about it, Patrick Kane would be a legend, and we wouldn't trade 1 second of that. But then next year, when you're saying to yourself, gee, Jake Gunsel would look pretty good in the Rangers right now, and the Rangers are left here holding the bag again. You know what I mean? So, as much as I do like Patrick Kane, and I wouldn't mind him coming back to the Rangers, it does kind of suck that it might be at the expense of Gunsel.
Yeah, exactly. So I really don't hope Chris Drury doesn't do this move, because I feel it would work better in our favor if we get Gunsel.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. No doubt about it. And one more thing before we start rounding this thing out, Dan, here. I did want to talk. I don't know if you heard. I'm sure you did at this point now. It's been just about 24 hours since the huge news broke of the New York Knicks blockbuster trade with their crosstown rivals, Brooklyn Nets, as the New York Knicks went out there and traded 4 unprotected first-round picks to the Nets for Mikal Bridges. Now, on the surface, if you look at this, Bridges is a really good player. I like Bridges a lot, but this probably is an overpay for a guy like Bridges. If you ask me, the Knicks could have gotten Donovan Mitchell for the same package last year. So it is kind of annoying that they traded 4 unprotected firsts for Bridges. But let's look at it from this perspective. The Knicks have Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, and Dante DiVincenzo, who all won a championship together at Villanova. Mikal Bridges was on that team too. He was the 4th member of that championship quartet that they had over there in Villanova in 2016 and 2018. They won 2 championships together. So the Knicks are really going all in on getting these Villanova guys back together. And I don't mind that. I think they still probably gave up a little bit too much. But if you really think about it too, the Knicks only gave up their first-round picks. The Knicks still have other teams' first-round picks, including the Detroit Pistons' unprotected first-round pick next year. Let's not forget, the Detroit Pistons are picking in the top 5 this year. So it's a possibility the Knicks have a lottery pick next year thanks to the Detroit Pistons. So if the Knicks are a good team, they really only traded the Nets a bunch of picks at the end of the first round. So, you have to look at it from both perspectives, Dan. So what's your initial reaction on this Bridges deal? Because no matter what way you cut it, it's a huge deal for the Knicks.
I just think it's a huge deal. I think this team is going to be even better than last year.
Well, yeah, no doubt about that, Dan. I totally agree. They're on track right now to be better than last year. They're going to be deeper than last year. What they're trying to do right now, too, is, let's be honest, the Boston Celtics are the NBA champion. They're the deepest team in basketball right now. So the Knicks are trying to match that right now, specifically on the outside, bringing in a lot of that outside talent. Bridges definitely has that outside talent. Another guy that they're trying to bring back now is OG Anunoby. And from what I heard, a lot of people were saying last night that, oh, maybe this Bridges deal means they're not going to bring OG back. And I heard the complete opposite of that. I heard the Knicks are still fully intending on doing everything they can to bring back OG Anunoby, who was one of their better players, specifically defensively last season too. Now, just on the side note, the Knicks offered arbitration to OG Anunoby, and he declined it. So he became an unrestricted free agent, and so he can do whatever he wants now. But word is that he's still a top priority for the Knicks. The Knicks can still afford him, and it looks like that they can still do everything in their power to bring him back.
Yeah, I feel they're going to. I feel they're gonna bring him back.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. That's that's the idea. If adding a guy like Bridges is great, but what a lot of people were saying too is that a lot of people thought that the Knicks might have to give up a guy like Julius Randle to pull off a trade like this. And as much as I've been an advocate for trading Randle, you only trade Randle if you're bringing in another star. Like if you're trading Randle and you're bringing back a guy like Durant or Giannis or any of those top big forward type stars, that's a different story. But you don't trade Randle for a guy like Bridges because then you're probably worse than you were before you traded him. So keeping Randle, bringing in Bridges, adding him to the trio of DiVincenzo, Brunson, and Hart, adding Bridges to that mix, and bringing back OG Anunoby is going to be big for keeping this Knicks team together. Now, the one thing that does suck is that it's appearing more and more likely the Knicks will not be able to retain Isaiah Hartenstein. And he was a big part of this team, no matter what you want to say about the guy. And it sucks losing him because the Knicks signed him as a player that was an afterthought. Nobody cared about Isaiah Hartenstein. The Knicks took him, and that's one thing that a lot of people are critical of the Knicks coaching staff. You have to give Leon Rose credit for bringing this guy in, and you have to give Tom Thibodeau and his coaching staff credit for turning this guy into a borderline roster player, into a guy that is so good now they literally can't even afford it, right? You have to give the Knicks credit for that.
Yeah, you have to give the Knicks credit for that. That's awesome. But I think it's not going to hurt us so much.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, Dan. And, with that, I think we're just going to be winding down here right now. Still a lot of action to happen in the NBA as we're talking the Knicks and the Nets. The free agency doesn't start for another 5 days. Same thing in hockey. We're going to be getting the both drafts in the next couple of days, too. So that'll be fun to sink our teeth into. There's sure to be a flurry of moves in the draft as well. So we'll be keeping our our eye on that. But Dan, before we start wrapping up here, take one look around you. How does Citi Field look right now? People around now pumped up and ready for Game 2 tonight. Let's go.
It looks like everyone's filing their seats and ready to go. Packed house. It's going to be a very live crowd. Going to be a very crowd out. Mets fans, Yankee fans out chanting each other. Let's fucking go, Mets!
Let's go. Let's get a Let's Go Mets chant going right now. Let's go. Let's go.
Go Mets!
Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets! There you go. Citi Field seems pumped right now. Big game tonight, 7 p.m. As we're recording this right now, we're about 15 minutes or so away from first pitch. So I want to thank everybody in here for tuning in and catching another great episode here for us. I'm sure we'll be back at some point this weekend, maybe with a bonus episode too. So keep your eyes peeled for that on our social media. But Dan, before we get out of here, do you have anything you'd like to plug for yourself?
Sure, my Twitter account, Bobo103NYC, Instagram and both Instagram and Threads, Bobo1ATK, and at YouTube, one word, Daniel Curran, people who subscribe to the Patreon get early access to my YouTube videos whenever I post them, 2 weeks early before everyone else.
That's right. Make sure to subscribe and check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/Best Seat in the House podcast. It's only $5, like Dan just said. Thank you to everybody who's already over there and watching us live right now, by the way, which is one of the benefits of being a member. You can watch us live on Wednesday night when we record this. So want to thank everybody for tuning in. Another fun show here. Hope everybody enjoyed themselves. Dan live at Citi Field right now. Hope you're enjoying yourself. And we got a big game tonight. Let's go Mets. We'll see everybody later this week. For your host, I'm Rob Cramer. This is my co-host, Daniel Bobo Curlin. And we'll catch you later this week on Best Seat in the House podcast, everybody. Let's go Mets.
Yep, let's go Mets.